When we talk about the architecture of love, we often get distracted by the superficial, the grand gestures, the chemistry, the initial spark. But if you want to understand the true, bedrock-level indicator that a woman is fully invested in you, you have to look at the currency of vulnerability. I'm talking about the moment she stops performing and starts revealing. Consider the psychological weight of a personal narrative. We all carry a private museum of our past, the traumas that shaped us, the insecurities we've spent years carefully curating, and the fears we hide even from ourselves. To share these things is not merely an act of communication, it is an act of profound, radical trust. When a woman chooses to share her inner world with you, she is essentially handing you the keys to her defenses. She is saying, I am willing to be seen in all my complexity and imperfection, because I believe you are capable of holding that space for me. In a clinical sense, this is the transition from social self to authentic self. Most of our daily interactions are transactional or performative. We show the world the version of ourselves that is polished and safe. But love, true, deep, transformative love, demands the removal of that mask. When she shares her childhood memories, her deepest regrets, or the specific anxieties that keep her up at night, she is performing a psychological audit of your character. She is testing whether you are a safe harbor. If you respond with judgment, indifference, or a desire to fix her, those doors will close, and they will likely stay closed. But if you respond with presence, with that quiet, steady acknowledgement that says, I see you, and I am not going anywhere, you have crossed the threshold into intimacy. This isn't just about sharing secrets, it's about sharing the self. It is an invitation to witness the landscape of her mind. When she trusts you with the fragile parts of her history, she is effectively signaling that she no longer views you as an outsider or a temporary passenger in her life. She is integrating you into the narrative of her existence. She is betting on your capacity for empathy, and in doing so, she is committing to the vulnerability required to build a shared future. It is important to understand that this is not a sign of weakness on her part. It is an act of immense courage. It is the most sophisticated form of intimacy because it requires the courage to be known. When she offers you this transparency, she is not just asking for your attention. She is asking for your partnership in the ongoing project of her life. She is saying that she trusts you enough to let you see the cracks, because she believes that together you are strong enough to build something that lasts. So the next time she opens that door, don't rush to offer solutions or change the subject. Recognize the gravity of the moment. Sit with it. Listen with the intent to understand, not to respond. Because when she shares her inner world, she isn't just talking. She is choosing you as her witness, her confidant, and her partner. True love isn't found in the moments where everything is perfect, but in the moments where she trusts you enough to show you that it isn't. Building on that foundation of vulnerability, we arrive at a shift that is perhaps even more telling. The moment she begins to weave you into the fabric of her future. Philosophically, we are all architects of our own destiny, constantly drafting blueprints for where we want to go and who we want to become. When a woman is merely dating, she keeps her blueprints private. She is the sole proprietor of her timeline. But when she is in love, those blueprints change. Suddenly she isn't just talking about where she wants to be in 5 years. She is talking about where we will be. This isn't just about making plans for a weekend getaway or a holiday dinner. It is a fundamental shift in her cognitive mapping. When she shares her long-term ambitions, her career pivots, her desire to live in a certain city, or even her abstract dreams about the kind of life she wants to cultivate, she is inviting you to co-author her story. Psychologically, this is a massive departure from the independent self. She is signaling that her vision of a meaningful life is no longer complete without your presence. It is a quiet, often understated way of saying, I see a version of the future that is better because you are in it. Many people mistake this for pressure or a demand for commitment, but that is a superficial reading. It is actually an expression of profound optimism. To include someone in your future is to acknowledge that you are willing to navigate the inevitable friction of life together. It is an act of faith. When she talks about these future scenarios, she is looking for your resonance. She is checking to see if your values align with hers, if your pace matches her own, and if you are willing to be a partner in the heavy lifting that life requires. If you find yourself being consulted on her major life decisions, or if she starts using the collective we when discussing her long-term goals, do not take it lightly. This is the psychological equivalent of her opening the door to her inner sanctum and asking you to step inside. She is effectively saying that she trusts your judgment enough to let it influence her trajectory. She is no longer just looking at you. She is looking salta with you toward a horizon that you are both building. It is easy to get caught up in the excitement of the now, but love is ultimately a forward-looking endeavor. It is the decision to commit your time, the most finite resource you possess, to another human being. When she shares her future with you, she is telling you that she has done the math, she has weighed the risks, and she has decided that you are the person she wants by her side when the future finally arrives. So, pay attention to the dreams she whispers to you in the quiet moments. They are not just idle thoughts. They are the blueprints of a life she is hoping to build with you. Ask yourself, are you ready to be the partner she is inviting you to be? Or are you still standing at the door, afraid to step into the future she is offering? Now, beyond the heavy lifting of vulnerability and the grand architecture of the future, there is a third, perhaps more subtle dimension to this dynamic, the sharing of the mundane. We often fall into the trap of believing that love is exclusively defined by peak experiences, the confessions, the milestones, the big decisions. But if you look closely at the architecture of a lasting bond, you will find that it is actually built on the debris of the everyday. When she starts sending you the seemingly insignificant fragments of her day, a photo of a book she's reading, a random thought about a podcast, or a quick observation about a stranger on the same page, she is doing something far more profound than just checking in. She is attempting to collapse the distance between your two separate realities. In our modern, often fragmented lives, we exist in silos. We go to work, we interact with our own circles, and we process our own internal monologues. When she shares these small, fleeting moments, she is inviting you into the continuity of her consciousness. She is saying, I want you to be the witness to my life. It is an attempt to create a shared reality, a bridge that allows you to experience the texture of her day, even when you are physically absent. From a psychological perspective, this is a form of bidding. In relationship science, we talk about bids for connection, small, seemingly trivial attempts to get the other person's attention or engagement. When she shares the mundane, she is constantly casting these lines out to you. She is testing the resonance of your connection. Does he care about what I'm reading? Does he find my observation funny? Does he understand the specific, idiosyncratic way I see the world? Every time you respond to these small signals with genuine interest, you are reinforcing a feedback loop of intimacy. You are telling her that her internal world is not just visible to you, but valued. This is where many people miss the mark. They view these messages as noise, as distractions from the real work of the day. But in reality, these moments are the glue. They are the daily maintenance that prevents the relationship from becoming a static, stagnant entity. By sharing the trivial, she is signaling that you are her primary point of reference. You have become the person she wants to narrate her life to, the person whose perspective she craves before she even fully processes her own thoughts. It is a quiet, persistent declaration of belonging. If you find yourself being the recipient of these fragments, do not underestimate them. They are the heartbeat of the relationship. They are the evidence that she has moved past the need to impress you and has settled into the comfort of being known by you. She is no longer just presenting a curated version of herself. She is sharing the raw, unedited stream of her existence. So pay attention to the small things. Do not dismiss the trivial, for it is in the mundane that the profound is hidden. Ask yourself, are you truly witnessing her, or are you merely observing her? To be loved is to be seen, and to love is to bear witness to the beautiful, ordinary reality of another human being. Finally, we reach the most definitive threshold of all, the integration of your presence into her inner circle. We have discussed the vulnerability of her private narrative, the co-authoring of her future, and the constant, rhythmic bridge building of the mundane. But there is a distinct, almost primal shift that occurs when she decides to dissolve the boundary between her romantic life and the rest of her social ecosystem. When she introduces you to her family, her oldest friends, or the people who hold the keys to her history, she is effectively removing the silo that once kept your relationship separate from her identity. In our social lives, we all maintain a curated perimeter. We have our public self, our professional self, and our intimate self. For a long time, these spheres may remain distinct to protect us from the potential fallout of a breakup or the discomfort of social judgment. When she invites you into her inner circle, she is making a definitive statement of integration. She is saying, this person is not a guest in my life. They are a part of the foundation. This is not just about social convenience. It is a psychological signal that she is ready to be seen with you, to be held accountable by her community for the relationship, and to allow her most trusted people to influence and be influenced by your presence. This act is a form of social anchoring. By bringing you into the fold of her closest relationships, she is essentially saying that she trusts your character to withstand the scrutiny of those who know her best. She is inviting you to see her through the eyes of others, and in turn, she is allowing her loved ones to see her through the lens of your relationship. It is a vulnerable, high-stakes move. She is exposing the most important parts of her history and her support system to your judgment, which is a profound testament to her confidence in the bond you have built. When you see this happening, do not mistake it for a casual social invitation. It is a declaration of permanence. It is the moment she stops compartmentalizing her life and starts synthesizing it. She is no longer keeping her you life and her real life separate. She is merging them into a single, cohesive narrative. She is telling the world, and more importantly, she is telling herself, that you are the person she wants to navigate the complexities of her social world with. It is the final piece of the puzzle, the moment where the private intimacy you've cultivated in the shadows of your conversations finally steps into the light of her broader reality. So, as you reflect on these signs, the vulnerability, the shared future, the mundane connection, and the social integration, remember that love is not a static state. It is a series of choices, a continuous process of opening doors that were once locked. If she is doing these things, she is not just in love in the fleeting sense of the word. She is actively choosing to build a life with you. The question now is not whether she is in love, but whether you are ready to be the partner who honors that trust, protects that vulnerability, and walks beside her as she builds that shared future. Don't wait for a grand declaration to recognize the depth of what you have. Look at the small, consistent ways she is already inviting you to be her home.